This conference will now be recorded.
Hi guys, good evening. This is Suresh here.
Good evening, Suresh.
Yeah, good evening guys. Good evening one and all. So guys, in our session yesterday, we have been looking into this home page setup, the way this first page, the landing page or the home page of the SuccessFactors screen, the way how we can handle this layout. So the customization of it, what are the different sections or different tiles. So rearrangement of the sections, rearrangement of the tiles, creation of custom section, custom tiles, all that is what we have been looking at in our session yesterday. So in our today's session, so once you got the access to the system, you logged in and you are able to design your home page, the first page that is done. Next thing, before we go into any further configurations, let us have some users created in the SuccessFactors system. Some users creation in the SuccessFactors. Okay, that is, so if you start working on any further configurations going down the line in Employee Central module, all that, we would require some test data. So if you want to check some workflows, anything testing, so you need some test data, right? So even in the real-time system, even when we are working on a new customer's system, so we create some couple of users. So apart from our main ID with what we are logging and doing in the doing all the configurations, we at least hire 2-3 additional users for any testing scenarios to be done. So that in that process, how to have some new users created in SuccessFactors is what I want to first discuss. Okay, so now in that regard, if you clearly follow me now, I have been telling using loading of new users into the system. I'm not saying hiring of employees. I'm saying loading of users. That is, there is absolute possibility that customers can also go with SuccessFactors without Employee Central. So Employee Central implementation is not mandatory for the customer. If they want to use SuccessFactors only for recruiting module, performance management module, like that, if they want to use LMS, any other talent solutions without SuccessFactors say, I mean without Employee Central say, then that is also possible. That means customer is using SuccessFactors for only some talent solutions like recruiting, performance, compensation, whatever, some talent solutions only they are using, where the actual employee hiring, promotions, transfers, terminations, salary corrections, all that, the actual main employment record handling is actually happening in the customer's actual HR system, some other old existing HR system. Still they are using that. They are using SuccessFactors as just a tool in which they want to process the performance process, recruitment process, all that. For them, SuccessFactors is not the main HR system. They use some other HR system to hire the employee, all that. So the employee life cycle activities, hire to terminate, is happening in some other HR system. So in such cases, customers are going to have users created in SuccessFactors. It's not employees. Employees are hired in the HR system, some other, say example, if customer is using some Oracle HR system or PeopleSoft something. So that is their main HR system where they hire an employee. An employee number will be generated there. The employee's salary data, employee's personal details, dependent details, communication details, everything will be in that system. For all the employees that are being hired in that HR system, here in SuccessFactors, they just create user IDs. For them, SuccessFactors is just some portal in which every employee of their company will have a user ID to log in and do the performance process or recruitment process or any other talent modules. So that is an absolute possibility of the real-time scenarios that you'll see. Every customer need not have Employee Central as a mandatory module. Employee Central is one of the core module. If they are going for a complete standalone process, then Employee Central is a base module that is having all the employee data, company structure, everything. But if a customer has treated SuccessFactors as just a talent solution, they are not handling the employee data and all here, then that is for them here in this SuccessFactors system, they are just creating the user IDs for all their employees into which they can just log in and perform some activities. So that is why I am referring here as loading of users. So this is also we are required to know. Before we get started with Employee Central in few more sessions, I also want to give you guys an idea that SuccessFactors can also be implemented without Employee Central. In that case, whatever are the users that they are creating in the system. So they are not employees. You can just refer them as users. Okay. So for talent modules like performance management, recruiting management, compensation, learning management, whatever talent modules you have, for these talent modules to run, we don't require entire employee data. We just require the mini master data. That is the employee's first name, middle name, last name, his email address, who is his manager, who is his HR. Like this, very few details, like around 20 fields of mini master data is what we require. Here we don't maintain the historic data. Say example, if employee is hired in this company in 2005, since last 16 years, what is his salary? Say in 2005, what is his salary? After 2 years in 2007, what is his salary? 2010, 2015, whatever are his salary changes, all that historic data will not be in SuccessFactors if the employee central is not in place. So the core HR system will handle all this. So if employee central is not in place, whatever is the other HR system of the customer, in that the customer will have all the historic data maintained, but not in SuccessFactors. So here in SuccessFactors, to run the other talent solutions, non-EC talent solutions, they just require the mini master data of today what is my position in the company, today what, in which department I am, in which location I am, today who is my manager, who is my HR. This is the current latest record of mini master data is only required. The historic data and all is not required for talent solutions to be running on the SuccessFactors system. Okay, so in that regard, to have users created in SuccessFactors when non-EC, if there is no EC in the project, for just creation of users, how do we maintain the users uploading process with the mini master data of the employees is what we are now going to look towards. Okay, so for that, guys, we just go on the admin center. 1 second, just give me a second. So I'm just going to the some issue with the system. Just give me a moment. Let me just re-log in into the system. I guess it's timed out. So now I'm entering into the admin center, where in the admin center, we have a place where we can actually load some new users into the SuccessFactors system. So in this, under the second section called as manage employees. So first section is company processes and cycles, which will have all the module related respective notes actually. That is where you have the goal management, performance management, compensation management, all modules relevant config notes are what that are present here on the first section. And the second section is where we can deal with the employees and the employee data, manage employees. So here in this, the second block is where you have an option under update user information. You have this option of importing employee data. So from this place is where we'll upload some new users into the SuccessFactors system. Why is it showing import employee data? Why not user data? Is in this current system that I'm showing you, all the employee central module is activated. That's why you're able to see this word as import employee data. If employee central module is not activated in the system, it will just show it as import users. Import users is the word that used to come. Because employee central is activated, it shows as import employee data. Okay. Now, once I go under this, I have to upload a file through which I can upload the users can be created in the system. But if I go under this, the file, whatever I have to upload, first I need to know the format of the file. I should be able to prepare the data in that file format, and then I can do this. Then I can come to this place and I can upload the data. That file format and all, guys, one easiest way is here we have another option called employee export. So employee export is an option which will basically help us to download the existing users in the system. Say in a very fresh customer system, a new system we are implementing on the first week of your project sometime. When you click on this employee export, what it will be able to bring is only our IDs, the consultant IDs. I am one of the person who has ID into the system as as EC consultant. My colleague as PM consultant, some other colleague as a recruitment consultant. So the 4-5 consultant IDs, whatever we have, with that IDs itself, system will download this export file. Export users is the one. So employee using employee export, it will be downloading whatever are the IDs that are present in the system. Okay, in that whatever are the test sample data of users, if you want to hire some 3 or 4 sample users data, in that same file we can add few more additional rows and we can import it back into the system. So I'll just show you how it looks like. We just click on this employee export, guys. So here in this screen we have 3 buttons. The second one called export user file, the center one, export user file, this is the one that you are required to click. When you click on it, system will download you the complete list of existing users in a file, which is, it will be downloaded in a zipped folder actually. Yeah, it's opened up here. It's a zipped folder. I'm just opening it. So now in this, whatever are the users that will be shown is nothing but the users that are present in this system. Where in this system, this demo system level, we already have a lot of test data that is already given by SuccessFactors. There are almost around 1200 plus active users and few inactive users. All the test data has been already pre-delivered in this practice system by SuccessFactors. But in a new customer system, you will hardly have around 5 to 10 records. Those also belong to only the users. I mean the consultants who are working on that project. EC consultant, recruitment consultant, all the consultants IDs only will be present in this file. Where currently, as this system with a lot of sample data already in the system, this file has been downloaded with all the existing users in the system. And in this file, you will have a single ID for each and every user, a single record for each and every user. Say employee number 1, it's only one single record. Employee number 10,009, 10,052, 10,083, everything is only one single record every employee has. You will not have more than one record. So that mini master data, whatever you have to maintain, will be in just one single row. So that 20 or 30 fields of mini master data will just maintain as one single record with the latest as on date information. Today, what is my designation? Today, who is my manager? Today, who is my HR? What is my department? What is my location? Like that. The mini master information is what will be loaded into the system through this file format. So when we export also, this is a file format. Even when we upload also, this is the same file format. We can add some new users into this file, and that updated file we can load into the system. That newly added users will be created in the system. Okay. So I'll just show you the navigation once again. Under the admin center, under the second block called as manage employees, here under the second icon called update user information, you have a place where you can import the users. Before importing, to know which format you are required to load it, you can use this employee export option. When you export the data, when what format the existing users, the 3 or 4 users, existing users, what has been downloaded, in that same format, you will be able to import the file back into the system with few more new users added in that file. So here you have this export user file as an option. Okay, so when I clicked on this export user file, so this is a file that got downloaded, where from row number 3 in this file, you will have all the employee data. The first 2 rows in SuccessFactors, any file uploads you see, the first 2 rows will be the column headers. Column headers, we should not make any changes on this. Only from the 3rd row is where you will have the employee data. The first row will be the technical field names, and the second row will be the field labels. So example, for the middle name as a field, the technical field name is MI in capital letters. The front end label is middle name, the normal word. Similarly for HR as a field in column M, HR as a field, HR is a technical field name. Human resource is the field label that we see on the front end. Like this, the first row will contain all the technical field names, and the second row will contain all the field labels that will represent on the front end. So we should not touch these. Only from the 3rd row is where we are required to handle the employee data. Okay, so this is what I want to show you the first as it is. If I download, how it looks like On top of it, if you are required to add new users, how to add it is what we'll now discuss. But any questions still here, guys?
Yeah, I have a question, Suresh.
Sorry, can you come
Hello?
again? Yeah, Parul?
Yeah, Suresh, it's Parul here. I have a question. So usually, there's no actual difference between a user and an employee, is it? It's just the fact that Employee Central is implemented or not implemented, and the naming, the name differs. That either it's called a user or employee.
No,
Am
it
I
has a lot.
correct?
Exact. No, that's not right. If there is no employee central, it's a huge difference. You don't have lot of data what used to be in EC. In employee, when it is non-EC, you are just having a one single record of mini master data that you are having. Employee central in scope, if
So
there is an
the
employee,
reason I asked is,
guys, please make sure you are on mute when I'm answering your question, please. Just give me a moment. Let me complete my answer, then you can come up with your question. So my point is, if there is no employee central, example, if there is an employee who joined in the year of 2005 and now we are in 2021, 16 years of his back historic data, when he joined in this company, in which department he joined, with what designation he joined, what is his salary then, today what is his salary, when did he got promotion, when did he got transfer, when he was on paternity leave or maternity leave, these kinds of things, everything you don't have it in the talent solutions. When you are using success factors just as a talent solution, latest today's as on record is what you have. Say example, you are a user in Facebook, you are a user in LinkedIn, similarly you are a user in success factors. That's it. If there is no employee central, it's just a portal in which you are getting a user ID created with this mini master data, like what is your name, what is your email ID, who is your manager, who is your HR, like this kinds of mini master data. That's it. Got it?
Suresh, I have a
I
question.
understand that. The reason I ask this is because, see, when you exported that, there was not, is there really a difference between mini master and the fields that appear in this export? For example, also, you said that, when you first exported during the first week of implementation, the consultant's data appears. As consultants, usually we don't get added as employees, so we might not have the same number of, the same data in the system as an employee would have. So then how would we make it? So for example, as a consultant, if in SAP, if you implement, you might not even have your record, like you might have a very basic record created maybe as a contractor or something, but over an employee would have much more data, right? So in that case, some of these fields would be empty, right? When you're exporting this as a, like for your own
Absolutely. So even consultants is an ID. User, this are the employees. What we are now loading is also is just an ID. We are creating an ID for them. Everybody is an ID here. That's it. Every individual is treated as just an ID here. It's just a user ID. That is what we are creating for everybody, so that they can log in with that ID into the system. Okay. So in the as you mentioned, definitely when initially in the first week when you are downloading it, the 3-4 consultants IDs are what that it shows. That will have the ID, the first name, the last name, and if we maintain the email ID of that ID, that email ID. Only these things we have. What is the manager of that ID? What is the HR? What is the department, location? All this stuff, the date of joining, date of birth, all these things will not be there, obviously. But end of the day, this is the file in which every ID is present. That might be we as the consultants ID, or even the employees of that company who are logging into the system as users will have all their IDs in this file. Okay.
And we would have means to distinguish between the two.
Sorry.
We would have means to distinguish between the two. Like for example, like for if you are a contractor in the system, you'll have means to distinguish within the file only. You can understand who is what, right?
You can maintain it. So you have a lot of fields in this. You can take one of the field and you maintain the contractor, part-time, full-time, whatever you want to have, you can maintain. If it is you are using SuccessFactors as a non-EC system, and in this system also you want to have both contractor and full-time employee, you can maintain one column for maintaining even that data.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other question? Yeah, please go
This
ahead.
Excel also has the fields of department, job code, division, etc. So in case we are going for a PMGM implementation without an EC, so all those fields can be left blank, and only the fields of user ID, first name, last name can be uploaded into the system using this Excel file.
Absolutely. So those are all non-mandatory fields. We can definitely do that, but nobody will do in such a way. This, whatever are the mini master fields that we minimum have, so customers will try to maintain these minimum information so that, say, example, there is a performance review of an employee happening in, at least the manager, HR, some people who are reviewing this employee's form, they can have some minimum understanding like who is this employee, which department he is, in which location he is, like that. Some general information will be visible on the employee performance forms actually. So for that, this minimum fields, whatever we have, we can fill it in real time. Definitely customers will fill these. They don't leave it blank, but technically it doesn't stop us.
So in
Definitely.
case I fill these fields and these fields are not configured into the system, like into SAP, we configure the personal area, sub area, employee group, subgroup. But in case
Yeah.
EC is not implemented and I am uploading the department or the job code, where are these fields going to be stored in the system? Or is
Free
it
text.
that
SuccessFactors, it is free text. It's not a drop down. You don't require any master data to be configured. Whatever name in the department field you give, XYZ, ABC, blah blah, whatever you type, it just stores as that. It's a free text holder. That's it.
okay?
Yeah, hi, this is Rupa here.
Yeah, Rupa, please.
My question is, as you mentioned, for talent solution, we create user ID.
Yeah.
Yeah. So once talent solution is implemented, and in second phase, if we go for employee central implementation, then how this user ID is linked to your employee ID, or how is it merged?
That's what. So even if it's an employee central, user is definitely to be in place. So even in employee central also, this file is definitely in scope. Even if I'm implementing employee central, this is one of the first file among the various data files that I upload. So I'll upload employees salary information, employees contact details, employees details, bank account details, like that. So various files of data is what we are required to import. So like in SAP HCM, we have different info types. Here also we have different sections into which different data has to be loaded. Even in employee central, before we upload all that data, first is this: you are required to create a user for all that employees. If it is a non-EC system, you will just stop, upload this first mini master data file and you will stop it. But if it is EC, we will not stop it here. After this, we have 15 to 20 more files that we'll upload actually.
Okay. So you mean to say user ID can be your employee ID?
Absolutely.
From your
The customer,
okay, yeah.
whatever is there here in SuccessFactors, user ID is nothing but employee ID.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
User ID is your login name. User ID, your login name is username. We have a separate field for that. In SuccessFactors, user is called basically the employee ID, and username is a separate one with what you can log in. So either customers can choose both to be same, or they can have two different.
Fine.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
So just give me a moment, guys. 1 second. So normally when we go for this importing of employee data, it's a non-EC system. This file is whatever I'm showing that we'll be actually using for uploading and creating some new users in the system. But if it is EC, not limited to this, we have many other categories of files that we'll be loading. So here, if you see all this, employees job details, employees compensation details, phone numbers, email addresses, his personal details like marital status, nationality, all that, and going down his national IDs, addresses, emergency contacts, job relationships like his HR, his matrix manager, some other thing, dependence data, various categories of information we'll be loading. We'll not stop it with the first upload. We'll load a lot of users in the system. Okay. 1 second. Guys, give me a minute, please. I'll be back. Just give me a moment. Yeah, guys, back here. Sorry for the long pause. Okay, so now back to the file. So this is now, let us start understanding what all categories of information, what all different fields are actually present in this file. And if we are required to load some new users, what is the minimum required columns that is enough to maintain the data and load the users in the system? We'll look into it. So in that regard, the first row is every time the status. Status is what it says. The first column is the status. It says active or inactive. The current record is whether it belongs to an active employee who's currently still in the system, or inactive means somebody who used to be part of the system but now they are terminated employees who left the company kind of. At the bottom of this file, system will also show you the inactive users as well. Active and inactive, everybody will be here. Okay, so like that, in the same file it will download the entire list of data. Let me just freeze the top row or else freeze the navigation. Okay, so now this is a way where in the first column we'll have the active and inactive status. The only two values supported in this column are active and inactive for existing employees and employees who left the company and who are no more going to have the access to the system. They are marked as inactive. The next column is the user ID. So user ID in SuccessFactors is nothing but an employee ID you can treat, where in SuccessFactors this ID can be alphabetic, numeric, alphanumeric. Employee number in SuccessFactors need not be only a number. It can be alphabetic also, alphanumeric also. Where in SAP HCM we don't have that functionality. It's only a number that supports for us. It's a Perner number of 8-digit maximum it supports, we know that. But when it comes to SuccessFactors, it can be numeric, or if you go down, you can also see there will be alphabetic, alphanumeric, like this. So user IDs can be anything in SuccessFactors that can be supported as per the customer requirement. And username is nothing but the login name on the SuccessFactors logon screen. What login name you enter, that is the username. User ID is different, username is different. User ID is generally treated as the employee ID. Either the customer wants to have both as same, or they want to have different ID and username as different. It's up to them again. Okay, and even for you guys, most probably by tomorrow, first off, all of you guys will be receiving the system access. So for everyone, what I give you is this username. Okay, this username is what you will be given, with which you can log in, and an initial password will be given that you can use to log in for the first time. And then there will be these columns like first name, nickname, middle name, last name. These are the different fields where nickname and middle name are optional. First and last is required to be maintained. And next important is title. The title is today as on date, whatever is the current employee's position title that you can give it here. So whether it's you are an assistant manager, you are a consultant, you are a project manager, whatever, you can give the title, whatever is the employee's title in the actual HR system, the same thing can be maintained here. And then the gender as M for male and F for female. These are the things what you can maintain. Next, you have the columns for email ID, manager, and HR. Column K, L, and M. 1 second. Yeah, so these are the three columns which are for employee's email ID, manager, HR. Email ID is straightforward, but manager and HR are something typical. That is, for any employee, if you want to assign somebody as a manager, for any user also you can take, as of now you can use the terminology as user. For any user, if there is some other user as a manager in the system, okay, so Mr. A, B is the manager, for B, C is the manager. So then the ID of that manager is what you are required to maintain here. So for employee number 1, if employee number 2 is the manager, that number 2 is what you are required to give, not the name of that person. System will not accept the first name, last name, username, not that things. The user ID is the primary field. So this 102.102.009 is the user ID of some other person. He is now assigned as the manager of this employee. So for this row, for this employee number 1, employee number 102.009 has been assigned as the manager. So this manager and HR columns will accept only the user IDs. If you don't know whom to be maintained as the manager of an employee or HR of an employee, you cannot leave these two columns blank. You should mandatorily have some text in this. So that is what a standard string SuccessFactors has given. no underscore manager in capital letters. You see this, no underscore manager. Even if you don't know HR, no underscore HR in capital letters. These are the two standard strings. In case if a employee, if you don't know whom to be assigned as an employee, whom to be assigned as a manager as of now, you can't upload it with blank. These two columns should have these two standard strings to be incorporated. Okay, later on you can replace it and upload with the actual manager once you get the data properly. So that is important point to be noted. Okay, so till here, till the column of HR is what you are required to be concerned, guys. Whenever you're creating some sample test of users in the system, as of now my agenda is to just create some basic users in the system, that users can log in into the system and they can do anything. So that is what the users, if they are required to be created from this status A till status of from the column A till this column M till the field of HR is what you are required to maintain the data. After this, as one of the participants also has also been asking, the other fields, department, division, location, employee time zone, employee hire date, employee phone numbers, fax numbers, address data of employee, like this, all these other mini master data are not mandatory information. Only till column M is what we are concerned. All these other columns can be left as blank when you are creating a user. It's not mandatory. If you have the data, if customer is giving the data, you can maintain. Okay, but after this column M, if you scroll to the right, you have one column that comes in the name of default locale, guys. Default locale. So what is this? This is a default language. So as I know that SuccessFactors today supported in 43 languages. Out of 43, if a customer has chosen to use the system in say 5 languages, they have their employees in 5 different countries. To support all that 5 local countries languages, 5 languages have been activated. So I already showed you guys how to switch between the languages. If I want to use English or Arabic, whatever, I can switch between the languages as an end user. But first of all, for the very first time when they log in which system, in which language they should see is the default language we are required to set. So that when we issue the user ID to the employee, for the first time when he log in into the SuccessFactors system, in which language he should see is what we are passing through this. So here all the users in this system are set as English US, the US English. We basically have 2 versions of English US and English UK. Okay, so EN underscore US represents the English US, and if it's UK English, we give it as EN underscore GB, Great Britain, that is the UK. Okay, so that is the language code we maintain. You need not by heart these language codes. So in the provisioning system, we'll have the language codes of all the languages. So if you go for the provisioning that I've shown you yesterday, guys, I mean in the previous session when we saw the provisioning, just give me a moment. So basically SuccessFactors systems or the provisioning systems get logged out, guys. If you don't do any activity for around 15-20 minutes, system will automatically get logged out. That's how this my account got logged out. So I'm just logging in back. So this is our provisioning site. If you just click on the hyperlink of the company name, for your instance, what is the provisioning system? Click on that. Here in the very first link in this company specific provisioning page, the very first link, company settings, is what you click. When you click on it, it takes you into the next page where you find that hundreds and thousands of checkboxes, which are all the different various activation switches that you need to do. So from here you have all these checkboxes as we saw in the previous sessions, and here you have the language packs, and against every language the code of that language has been given here. So from here you can just take the language code and you can paste it at the front end, okay, in that CSV file. So you need not by heart this. Nobody will ask you this in the interview or certification. Okay, so this is the default language. That is one column. After till the columns of manager, HR, in between all the other columns are non-mandatory. This default language locale is what you are required to maintain. And after this, going to the extreme
I have
right.
a question, Shiva.
Just give me a moment. I'll take the questions, please.
Yeah, please.
So here, once you complete the default language also, then you have this last in the last columns, you will find an ID field, guys. Assignment ID, personal ID. Like this, you will have 1 or 2 ID fields that will be coming in the customer systems, where that ID field is the same user ID what you have given in the column B in the extreme left, whatever you will give the user ID, that is employee number. The same thing you are required to give here again. So this column is useful whenever SuccessFactors system is getting integrated with some other third-party systems. So the integration platforms will be required to access this column instead of the column B. So this is a column they are referring to. So only for that purpose, we are required to just repeat the same ID given in column B into this column assignment ID external when you are having some external integrations. That's it. So that way you just come to the here. So in this column B, whatever is ID given, the same thing will repeat in the last column as assignment ID external something is given. So in some systems you will have 2 things, assignment ID, onboarding ID, 2 things. You can repeat the same thing in 2 columns also. Based on the modules that are activated in the system, either 1 or 2 columns will come in the end of the file. So I'm again repeating, column A stands for active or inactive. Column B, this is the user ID, nothing but the employee ID in SuccessFactors. It can be alphabetic, numeric, or alphanumeric. Then you have the username. Even this can be alphabetic, alphanumeric, or completely numeric. It's up to you. This is the login name with which you enter into the system. The first name, nickname, middle name, all these fields, where among these again, nick and middle name are also optional. Next, you have the job title, gender, email address, manager, HR. Till here are what we normally make sure that we are maintaining all the required data. Manager and HR level, if you don't know whom to be assigned as a manager and HR, you should not leave the columns blank. You are required to use the standard strings as no_manager, no_HR, and this is an expected certification question in terms of Employee Central. As I told, this file will also upload in as a part of Employee Central also. As part of Employee Central, this is one expected certification question. And apart from that, whatever data that you are maintaining in this column should be only the user ID of some other user. So for one employee, you want to assign somebody as a manager, that manager person's ID is what you are required to give, not his first name, not his last name and all, his ID. So these are all the IDs of some other employees that are being tagged at each and every employee. After this, after the HR, all the other columns are non-mandatory. The next minimum required is the default locale, which is a default language. Whenever user logs in for the first time, within which language he should see is what we are setting here. Once the employee logs in, so among that 43 languages, which languages we activated, 5 or 6, the user can switch between those languages up to his requirement at any point of time. And after this, the last one, extreme right when you scroll. So this assignment ID is the same thing what you are required to maintain with the same user ID what you have given in the column B. So with these columns, if we maintain and upload the file back into the system, any new users you are maintaining in this file and loading back into the system, that newly added users will be created in the system. Okay, so now I'll even show you how to add some new users. Before that, let me just take the question. Yes, is that Swarnalatha?
This is Rupa here. Thank you for my question. The thing is, you just mentioned that in provisioning we will select few languages.
Yes.
And what while maintaining this file, if I have inserted a language which is not selected during provisioning, will the system throw error or something like that when I try to import this file?
Yeah, so it will not definitely throw you an error. There is another one. Apart from these languages, these individual languages, you have something called as default language. One second.
Default?
I'm just showing default language is one more setting that we'll have in the SuccessFactors system. I'll just show you that. Here, you have something other called as default language. Okay, so here, whatever is a default language that has been selected in the provisioning, so whichever language you show, whichever language you assign to the employee, if that language is not activated in the system will show him his login in the US language, whatever is defaulted here. It will not stop you with errors. If you have a language called Korean, but if you did not activate Korean, system will switch to English automatically. Default language Okay.
Fine. Thank you. Got
Yeah.
it.
Okay, so now let us look into how to add some new users. This is the file what I've downloaded from the system. Whatever is existing already there in the system with active, inactive users, completely got downloaded. Now, if you want to add the new user, either you can add here anywhere randomly, you can just add, insert one record and you can add it. Or else if you want to do it, go down to the complete extreme bottom of the file and you can add it there also, no problem. Anywhere you can add one more new record. It's not no hard and fast rule that you are required to add in the top of the file, bottom of the file and all. Anywhere you insert a record and you can add it. Okay, so now I'll just add one user. I'll just fill it in front of you. So a new user, obviously I'll keep it as active because he has to access the system. User ID, so as I told you, it can be alphanumeric. So let me create it as demo underscore feb 16. Demo feb 16 is what I've given as a user ID. With this he has to log in. I mean this is his ID and this is what with which he has to log in. I'm even assigning the same. So user ID and username can be the same also, as I mentioned. And now I want to give it as first name as demo, middle name as user, last name as some testing. I'll just give it. Okay, so like this I just kept demo user testing as the first name, middle name, last name. Title, I'm just giving it as test user as a title. Okay, and then we have the column of gender, so I'll just maintain the gender as some male or female something, and email ID some xyz@gmail.com. Okay, and then we have manager and HR. So if I don't want to maintain anybody as a manager or HR of this employee as of now, I'll just maintain it as no underscore manager, no underscore HR as a standard strings. So till here is what I am required to maintain with some data. Once this is done, all the other columns in between are non-mandatory. I can leave them, and then I have to concentrate on this default locale. So I want to give it as English US, EN underscore US as a default language. So you have to give the code as it is, guys. This is case sensitive. First two letters are small letters, the last two letters are capital letters. That is case sensitive. Whatever is provisioning present in the provisioning, as it is, you are required to give it here. And after that, in the last column here, you are required to give the assignment ID, which is nothing but I have given it as demo underscore feb 16, whatever I have given, the same thing I'm repeating here. That's it. So like this, I just maintain these columns with the required data. I'll save this. Save this file. This file with one more newly added record, I'll upload it into the system. Okay, so here in the system under same update user information, we know that we have the import employee data. Using employee export, we downloaded it. Here using import employee data, now we are going to import it back into the system. So going under import employee data, so here is the place where you can actually import it. The first category called basic import. So this file, what we are now referring, can be called as three different names, guys. It can be called as user directory file, UDF, user directory file, or basic import, or mini master data. Let me just list those things. We'll call it as user directory file, which we call it as UDF in the real time. UDF file, user directory file, or basic import file, or we can also call it as simply mini master data. So this is not official. Mini master data as a word is something normally consultants keep that name in the real time. You will not find it in any documents. User directory and basic import you will find in the documents and even systems, different places. So these are the three different names that we normally use in the real time for this file. So in the system here it is showing as basic import. Select that.
Sorry, I didn't get it. In terms of how do you save the file, or
Sorry,
I didn't understand. You talked about this user directory file, basic import file.
the current file what we are filling in, we have 3 different names is what I'm saying.
Okay.
Is that still a question? Did you understand the question on that?
No. Did you mean like this is how you are going to save the file, correct?
No, I'm not saying about saving file. The file has been already made and this I already saved it.
Okay.
I'm just trying to illustrate you the different names with which we call this file in the real time. We call this file, either you can call this as a user directory file or a basic import file or mini master data file. The name of the file is what I'm just saying.
Okay, understood. Sorry.
Okay, people call me Suresh, people call me Suri, different names. That is what I'm just trying to say. This file, the different names for this file. Okay.
Sure, understood.
Okay, back to the system. So here when you are loading it, the very first file, the basic import is what you are going to choose the category as. Then just browse the file that you have just filled in. So it's on my desktop. I'm just selecting that file what I filled in with the new record. Once I selected it, that's it. You need not touch anything else. That will be standard as it is. So just select the category of file that you are loading, the file, actual file, browse it. And on the right hand bottom corner, you have an import option. Just click on this import. So when you click on import, the entire Excel file, it's not an Excel guys, it's a CSV file. So that complete CSV file is taken into the SuccessFactors server. Okay, it's the file taken, it's not the data in that file in the first attempt. The entire file, the raw file will be taken into the SuccessFactors server. Internally, it will process that file, all the records in that file. Okay, so whichever records are proper with all the proper data, all the columns are properly filled with mandatory fields, appropriate data and all, that records will be loaded. Whatever are not properly maintained, the other records will be failing with error. So we will be receiving a log email just within a couple of minutes. You will be receiving a log email on your registered mail address. So this current user called Anya Singh, in her account, whatever is the email ID maintained. So to that email ID, a log email will be sent, a status email that says there are 1200 records loaded, out of which 1100 are successful, 100 are errors, the below are the errors kind of, it will give you a log email. Okay, so in this file I don't have any errors, I'm sure about it. So I just loaded the entire file, where when the entire file got loaded guys, you need not have any question about will all these users be duplicated. No. So when the system starts processing each and every record, it will check user 1, is that already in the database or not. This user 1 is already in the system, so it will not create one more user with 1. Like this, every record one by one it will check whether that user is already there in the system or not. It will cross check. When this comes to this row number 8, demo_feb16, it will identify that this user is not in the system and this user will be created in the system now. Which are the users already in the system, they will not be affected. Only the newly added records only will be created in the system. Okay, so that is the way how this will be handled. Now this demo_feb16, it would have been already loaded. It should not take more than 2 to 3 minutes. So it's not loaded yet. Let's come back in next 2 more minutes. So once you search with this ID, the system should show you that record in the system created. As of now, it's showing as no result. Next, within few minutes, again 2 minutes back, within 2 minutes, I again search it. You'll be able to see it. So in the meanwhile, we have few more things to discuss here. Now, I shown you that we can upload the entire file, where those records which are already present in the system, it will not affect it. Only other records, only the first time records only will be created in the system. That's fine. But against this existing users, if you made any changes, say existing this employee number 1, previously he used to be assembly manager. Now his title has been updated to senior assembly manager something. If you updated that and uploaded the file, so this update will also be made in the system. For already existing users, updates will be made. For the newly created users, those users will be now created in the system. So that in both the ways it will help to update the existing contents or even to create new users. Both will happen simultaneously. That is one thing. And if you ask me a question, I don't have any other updates, but am I required to upload the entire file? Not required, guys. Now you downloaded this with around 1400 records. It's not mandatory that you are required to load it with the entire 1400 records again. So if you want to create 1 or 2 users, you can maintain only that 1 or 2 users and also upload. So for that, here, when we go under this employee export, let me open this once again. So here in this, when we go under this update user information employee export, I've told you that among 3 buttons that are going to come on the screen, the second button is what you are required to click, where the system will download the entire list of existing, active, inactive, all the users. Instead of that, if you go for the first one, export template, if you go for this export template, system will show you only the column headers. The data will not be there. Only the file format template with the column headers only will be there. Now, if you want to load 1 or 2 users, just maintain those records and upload the file into the system. It's not mandatory that every time entire file has to be loaded. There is no such hard and fast rule. The reason why I initially start with showing you this option is, in the initial days, until you guys are comfortable in handling this file, if you go for this option and if you see the existing records, if you are creating a new record like this, it will easily help you to refer what kind of data should be present in which column and all. You will have a sample data. That's why initially I recommend in this way. Once after a couple of weeks, you guys are familiar with what columns to be maintained, what kind of data to be maintained and all. So then even if you want to go for the plain template option also, you can go with. So both are available. Either completely download and upload back the entire file, or only download the template and just upload that you only required users. It's up to you. Okay. Now, let me just again check for this. Yeah. So now the file got, this user got created. So demo is the first name, user is the middle name, testing is the last name, demo underscore feb18 is this user ID, test user is the job title that I have given, XYZ Gmail is the email ID that I have given. With all this information, a basic user is what that got created in the system. A user is nothing but that is an ID with which you can log in into the SuccessFactors system. For that ID, we can also set some password. How to set the passwords and all, I'll also show you in the further sessions. So first, a user got created. So the way how every employee will have a profile, even for every user you will have a profile, but all the sections of this profile will be blank. Actually, you see this personal information, some biographical information, address details, contact details, every section is blank because we did not give all the data. We just uploaded a mini master record through which just a user can be created. All the other further data items are not going to be maintained here in the system. Okay, so this is how we will handle creation of new users in SuccessFactors. In case of non-EC system, only with the mini master data, how can we create the new users is this part. Any questions still here, guys?
Suresh, Gitu here. I understand this is only when we are setting up the system, then only you do keep on uploading this kind of files, okay, LSMW kind of files. But once the system is up and running, I think then the admin will create users directly from the system, correct?
No, if it is non-EC, you don't have a front-end option of creating users. In a non-EC system, through upload only, we'll be creating the users in the system.
Okay.
Okay. Only for EC, SF has given a front-end interface where you can enter everything on the system digitally. You can enter the employee's first name, last name, email ID, gender, everything on the screen. If it's a non-EC, this is how we load the users. And definitely those users will not, I mean, the company side administrator will not do this activity regularly because in that case, if you know, if the EC is not there, they might be having some other system, which is the main HR system. There they hire the employee recording all the data on the screen. From that system to this SF system, they do some integration process. Through integration process, for every new employee getting hired in their old HR system, here with the mini master data, a user will be automatically created. Okay, if there is an employee terminated in that system, for that employee there is an already user ID in the system. That user ID will be marked as inactive in the system. So if the employee got terminated in the main system. Like that, between these two systems, there will be an integration process that will be established. So they will do that. So normally the whatever is the process I have now shown you, manually uploading in real time. We don't do this. Integration team will do it through automation.
Yeah. Okay. So we will not be doing the integration, correct? Someone else will be doing the integration.
Exactly. So for integration, it's a complete separate role called the CPI or the HCI. You call HANA Cloud Integration Consultants. That team will be working.
Okay.
Thanks. So those customers who are not interested in spending some budget for this integration, guys, so they will only do this manually. So out of my around 12 projects that I've done in SuccessFactors on multiple modules, I just had 2 customers with such an experience who are not ready to invest for additional budget for integration. Their HR admin will take this as a weekly job. Once in a week, they upload this file. So whatever are new users, new employees hired in this week, with that they upload this system with that new user IDs. If there is any terminations, once in a month they deactivate their accounts here in the system, marking them as inactive. So it's a manual maintenance for them every week and all. Okay.
So that's also a risk, like we miss something, integration.
That is of course when human is involved, there are chances of manual errors. That is up to the customer's choice. We definitely, as a sales team or any implementation partner, nobody will recommend to go for that manual approach. Customer says no, we don't have budget as of now. There is no option, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Any other queries, guys?
Yeah. Hi Suresh, I'm Roshni. I have one question. If
Please.
I'm creating new user, so before creating, do I need to recheck in the system that it is already has been created or not? And if yes, then how I will check?
Same thing, you will export this file. You will have the entire user list shown up here. Whether that user is already there in the system or not, you will find it, right? You want to check it.
So I check by Control F by email ID. From email ID, or how I will check?
Up to you. User ID is a primary key. In your main HR system is this employee number generated. So employee number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 like this. Your main HR system is generating for every new joinee. So say example, today there is an employee number 105 joined. So just come here and check whether 105 with that 105 ID there is a user already created or not. If it's not there, you maintain it. User ID is the employee number, which is primary key, obviously. That cannot be duplicated. With the same first name, multiple people can be there. But user ID is something that's constant. You can't have 2 people with the same employee number.
Okay, I got it. Thank you.
Yeah. Any others, guys?
Suresh, these employee numbers or user IDs, these are generated automatically, or we have to?
If it is hiring happening in Employee Central, you can automate it. If it's hiring happening in the main HR system, some other HR system, non-SF system, there the automation or whatever logic will happen. With whatever number it got generated there, same ID will assign here. It's not here in a non-EC system. Here we don't take the responsibility of number generation, automation, and all. So whatever is a number generated in that HR system, with same ID, they are required to be created here.
Okay.
Yeah. But in Employee Central, we'll definitely see that scenario. So if you want to have the employee number generation automated, that we have a process. If the numbers should be like department wise, a different number sequence, country wise, location wise, any different thing, even that all possible scenarios we can see in Employee Central. Okay. Fine, gentlemen. So this is all. So this is a very basic thing, guys, because it's the very first week. This all seems to be something interesting for you, where this is a very basic thing. So a lot more things we see under going further in the main sessions of Employee Central, all that. So when we just want to create some basic users in a system, when we are starting with the configurations for us, for our easy testing scenarios and all, to keep some test users handy, we just do this process. Very basic thing. Okay. So in our next session, we'll be looking into the process of once these kinds of users are getting loaded into the system, how do you set their passwords, or even when there is a new user created in the system, they should know their ID with how should they log into the system, what's the SuccessFactors URL, ID, password, and all they should know. So for all the new joiners, we can have some welcome mails triggered from SuccessFactors system. we can have some welcome mails triggered, which will have system will show them some welcome to SuccessFactors. Below is your user ID. This is your initial password, like that. System can send it. So that is this. So how can we set some welcome passwords? If they forget their password as an administrator, how can we help them with their passwords, resetting the passwords, all these things? And permissions for all the users, what kind of permissions, what extent of permissions we want to give, we can work on the permissioning part. So in our next session, our agenda will be on these couple of things: send welcome mail and password reset options and permissions. How can we handle the permissioning concept in SuccessFactors is what we'll be looking at. I'm not speaking about specifically Employee Central, complete across SuccessFactors. How the permissioning model can be designed is what we'll be looking at. Very interesting topic, very important also. Okay. So that is our agenda for now. Any other queries before we sign off?
No, thank you, Suresh.
Yeah, great guys. Thank you. Let's again
Thank you,
connect back.
Suresh.
Have a nice evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.